Welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to be looking at the weekly forecast for Xauusd and the dollar index. So we'll be taking a top-down analysis of the dollar index and gold in particular. So I'm going to start with the dollar index, what actually happened from last week from the weekly time frame perspective. So this is actually the weekly time frame of DXY, and from this chart we can see we had price breaking structure from this level, giving a strong bullish move on the dollar index. So dollar actually gained strength from last week. Having this in mind, you can see the closure of the candle of last week, strong bullish candle. This gives us an idea of where price could be heading to before any major drop. And from this, we still have a very ranging market on the dollar index. From this perspective, price has still been in this range, but from the higher time frame point of view. So with this in mind, having this break of structure, we had a zone that led to the break of structure, which is that zone. So if price could be able to hold this level, we can see the previous week high being the target for price at the moment. So price should be targeting this high for the buy side liquidity, as we already have the sell side liquidity taken out. All right, we already have the sell side liquidity taken out, which is this. So with this in mind, and also a bullish confirmation from here, we can see a formation of a morning star. So I will be expecting the dollar index to push more little up before we can have any major drop back to the downside. So this is actually the weekly overview. So I expect for the XY to just give a little retracement into this level and takes this out. I will be expecting that on the dollar index. That's going to be my view for this week on the weekly time frame. So we'll take a look at the 4-hour time on the daily time frame. Take a look at the daily time frame and look at key levels from where price was reacting from. So from this 4-hour time frame, we can see the buys actually happen from a nice order block zone, which is this. That's the holding price, and we see this gap here being point of interest for price to fill. So with this gap that was open from the first week of April, price has not filled. So definitely it's going to fill that and then take out this buy side liquidity and react from the supply zone before make a next decision if price actually wants to drop or not. So we can be seeing a rally up to this level before any major drop. This is actually the 4-hour time frame. So what you should be expecting for this week on how the market can open. So we can have a possibility of the market pulling back into a key points of interest before rallying back to the upside. All right, so we can have a drop up to this level for the dollar index. So this can actually be possible before pushing back up. So still expect some buys for this week on dollar index to fill this gap which we have here. Completely fill this gap, then react from the supply zone before continuing with the sells. So the sells will be targeting these levels of liquidity from the downside. So this is actually what we should be expecting on the dollar index. So we still expect a strong dollar for this coming week. All right, still expect a strong dollar for this coming week until we have price coming to this level. Then we'll have the next decision of where price actually wants to head to, because the market is still moving in a range on the dollar index from the higher time frame. All right, so we look at gold. So what happened? Gold actually closed this week under pressure after strong US inflation data, and then also have rising treasury yields, which actually boosted the US dollar. So markets are actually increasingly pricing a higher for longer Fed stance. So it has a weight heavily on non-yielding assets, just like gold. So with this in mind, with dollar being strong from last week, we could see how price dropped drastically to the downside. And my previous analysis, I did said I was forecasting for gold to actually sell, because I spotted out this candle range formation which we have here, and this was the low that price has to take out, and that has happened. Now for this coming week, what should be the expectations for this coming week? So first, you have to take note of the fundamental outlook, so the key drivers for this coming week. All right, what will actually push gold? So if we have a strong DXY, it is actually going to reduce the demand of gold, and if that happens, we're going to see gold continue dropping. So also the Middle East tension may still provide a safe haven support as well. And then we have Fed rate hike expectations. So if the Fed rate hike expectations continue increasing again, we continue to see price moving in that direction. But for the major key levels of support and resistance, which is actually holding price bearish as of the moment, we're going to look at that. First, let's get to the weekly time frame and have the weekly overview of how price closed this past week. So we have a strong bearish closure after price rated this high. We have it coming to the downside. Definitely expect this low to be taken, so we still expect sales for this coming week. This is the previous week low, which has not yet been taken, so expect price to come there up to 4,500 possible before rallying back to the upside, but also having to identify the key support and resistance levels. So let's get to the daily time frame. What we have on the daily time frame. So we have price this level holding the sales, the nice supply zone from this point, holding the sales to the downside, and we have this level that has been taken, the previous day candle liquidity level taken. We expect this weekly low also to be taken for the sell side liquidity. All right, we expect that to be taken for the sell side liquidity. Now what you should be expecting would be pullbacks for this week to continue with sales. Looking at the momentum, you don't want to trade against this momentum. All right, so you want to wait for pullback before you continue with sales. So we have key resistance levels which are actually at 4650 and 4800. So we have 4650 and we have 4800. So price staying below those levels, it means that we have the sellers still very much in control, and they will still want to push price to the downside. And then the key support levels at 4500, we have 4360, Those are major key support levels, 44.80 as well. So those will be the targets for the sales. So first we'll have to take out 4,500 and we have to take out for 44.80 as well. So from the 4-hour time frame, we want to identify key zones from which we should be looking out for opportunities this coming week. This is 4-hour. Now one thing, we had this nice demand zone here. After a very bullish displacement from this point of view, we were expecting price to drop, mitigate all this level, fit all this imbalance and mitigate this zone. But what happened? Price dropped below it, took out liquidity. So closing on Friday with a consolidating market at this level, rejections, multiple rejections, we'll be expecting, it's possible for price to just open on Monday, take out this liquidity here and then just drop. So that is actually possible. So two things can happen: either price takes out liquidity here and drop, or we have a pullback into a major key level before dropping. You understand? So you have to be prepared for that. But one thing is certain is that I'm still going to be bearish for this coming week. I'm still going to be bearish for this coming week on gold. All right, so sellers still remain very much in control, and if we can have a break at 4,500, then we are going to see price having a very great momentum to the downside. We're going to see a crazy momentum to the downside. All right, so now from the 4-hour time frame, looking at this bearish move, all you can see here is just this level, which you would be waiting for pullback, the breakout level, which you want to wait for pullback before looking for selling opportunities. So you'll be expecting price to get to this level to come take out this low. So from 46.50 to 46.70, we have a very nice sell zone there. If price can be able to pull back to that level, then we can see a drop to the downside. You can also still use Fibonacci to get the midpoint retracement level as well, equilibrium level. So we have levels 46.30 to 46.40, 46.30 to 46.40. We have 46.50 to 46.70. So those are key levels at which price can actually retrace to before continuing with the sales. So we're going to have a long waiting for this coming week before to have an entry. So just like I said, that we can have two things happening, because this level, this is a level of liquidity which price has created here. We had the consolidating market on Friday before closing, so price can take that out and then drop, or it can pull back from here into this level before dropping. But you just have to focus on sales. That is my bias for this coming week, looking out for more selling opportunities. All right, so this is actually 4-hour. They look on 4-hour. This zone is no longer valid. That zone is no longer valid, though it can still hold price, but you don't really want to look for opportunities here, except you have a very good confirmation which you want to counter trade to get to a good selling zone. So from the 1-hour time frame, when I say it doesn't really look good, you can see this from the 1-hour time frame. when I talk about the possibility of price just opening with a drop, you can see that formation is already happening from this closure. Price is already ready to drop because we've already had what, a break and a retest from this level. So this is more of a flip zone, a demand to supply flip zone. So you can see that break and price is retesting it. So expect a drop from here. Or you see a push to this level before dropping. Alright, so that is what can happen on gold. So that would be my view for gold for this coming week. So dollar still going to be strong, then I expect gold to keep on dropping for the meantime. So if you are just coming across this channel for the first time, make sure to hit on the subscription button and also turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on our subsequent videos analysis that will be coming up. All right, so 4 hour, 1 hour have the same zone, have almost the same zone. If you want to look at a quick scalping opportunity, which you can take trades from, you can go to 15 minutes and get an entry there. So look at 15 minutes. So you see 15 minutes has already given us that structure at this level. So that's why I would say price is possible for price to just drop from here. All right, because we have a break of structure here to the downside and we have a break of structure here. All right, so this is the zone that led to that break of structure and price is respecting it. All right, so this is another block continuation zone. That is another block continuation zone. So we can see what a slight push and then price drop. So just expect to sell from Monday, just expect to sell. So this can happen, else price can push back up to this level and use this as liquidity. Use this as liquidity. All right, so if that should happen, you have a push and you still have a drop. So just get ready, get your confirmation and look out for selling opportunities. All right, so expected scenarios for this week, the bearish scenarios that you should be looking out for, as long as price remains below 46.50, looking out for selling opportunities. Follow the momentum of the market. So because gold could retest 44.75, and if we have a break at 44.75, then we'll push towards 43.50. Bullish case scenario, it's if you want to really buy, focusing on buys, you have to be patient to wait for price to close above 46.60, because that is the pivot level, so that you can now be targeting 4,800 for buys. All right, now we have, take note of the fundamentals as well for this week: US inflation expectations, and then the Federal Reserve commentary, treasury yields movement, geopolitical tension in the Middle East, and then the strength of dollar as well. All right, primary buyers, we are bearish. Alternative buyers, for us to be bullish, a closure above 46.50. all right, so make sure you have this in mind and you just follow that for the meantime. take note of the psychological levels for the support and the resistance zones. So for the support, we have 4,500, 44.75, 43.50. So those are levels at which you will want to be looking at for buying opportunities if you actually want to buy. And the resistance levels 46.50, 48, and 49.35. So that will be it for our weekly forecast for the XY and gold. Bullish for the XY, bearish for gold. Thank you. See you in our next video, which will be dropping. Make sure you comment. Let me know if you have the same view as me. Then push the video, share the video as well to other people. Thank you.